Daniel Tiger might seem like a very simple show, but did you know there are several amazing facts about this series? Many people have already heard of Daniel Tiger, or even watched the show without knowing that the neighborhood where the little tiger lives already had many stories long before Daniel's series was created. That's because Daniel Tiger's neighborhood is essentially a continuation of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, a much older and classic children's program hosted by Mr. Rogers, a wise man who interacted with the other neighbors and helped them learn very valuable life lessons. Unlike Daniel Tiger, Mr. Rogers' show was live action. Rogers was the only real human, while all the other neighbors were represented by puppets. Even though the newer series is animated, it takes place in the same universe, and Daniel's story happens many years after the end of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. This is just the beginning of the 15 amazing facts you didn't know about Daniel Tiger. Stay tuned because another Cinewave full of new stuff is starting now. You can say whatever you want about Daniel Tiger, but the show does a great job when it comes to representing the different types of families that exist. Daniel has a mom and a dad who love each other, and we see many other families with parents who have different lifestyles. But there is one specific character who goes through a different situation. We're talking about O the Owl, because his parents have never appeared in any episode. He is the only main character in the cast who is in this situation, since the parents of all the other characters have shown up at some point. In O's case, it seems like he lives only with his Uncle X, which suggests that O the Owl is an orphan or that his parents for some reason do not live with him. Some details in Daniel Tiger are right in front of our eyes, but even so, they're hard to notice. You know Katarina Kitty Cat? There's a great example related to her, more specifically to her name. Katarina is a word that rhymes with ballerina, and that's no coincidence, since the little kitty truly loves dancing ballet. See how there are details we could have noticed a long time ago, but that simply don't cross our minds unless we really stop and think about them. Did you already know this, or did you only realize it now that we mentioned it? And do you think it was truly intentional? Or do you believe that, contrary to what we think, this similarity between Katarina and ballerina is just a coincidence? The fact that Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood is a continuation of Mr. Rogers' show isn't just a silly connection, because some important characters from Daniel's show actually came from the previous program. That's the case with Dad Tiger himself, who back then wasn't a father, but rather a young tiger known as Daniel Striped Tiger. At the time, for some reason, the character didn't even have the same colors he has today, being gray instead of having a yellow tone. Those who watched the original program and later started following the continuation had the pleasure of seeing him grow as a character and develop into the Dad Tiger we know today. There's even a plot hole involving Dad Tiger that only people who watched both series were able to notice. Anyone who watches the current show knows that Daniel has a grandfather who appears from time to time, and Dad Tiger calls that grandfather his father. But that's a bit strange, because in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, the younger version of Dad Tiger was an orphan. That is, both of his parents were no longer alive. Daniel's paternal grandfather being alive in the continuation creates a plot hole, unless Dad Tiger's father somehow came back to life, which would be pretty absurd. Just kidding, there is an explanation that actually makes sense. Dad Tiger may have been adopted after the end of Mr. Rogers' series, so Grandpere Tiger would simply be his adoptive father. This is just a fan theory, but if it ever gets confirmed, what now seems like a plot hole could turn into a very sweet detail about Dad Tiger's life. Do you think it would be cool if the series revealed that Dad Tiger is actually adopted? If so, leave a comment below with #dad in honor of Daniel's father. Dad Tiger isn't the only character who already existed in Mr. Rogers' program. Quite the opposite. Several other characters were already present from the very beginning in younger versions. Mom Tiger, X the Owl, Katarina Kitty Cat's mother, and King Friday. All of them were there and continued living in the neighborhood in the continuation focused on Daniel Tiger. King Friday was already an old, bearded man back then, but Daniel, Katarina's mom, and X the Owl were young, showing that time truly passes in Mr. Rogers' universe. Will we someday see Daniel Tiger himself growing up, with a new generation of kids appearing to take over the show? Still talking about the connections between Daniel Tiger and its predecessor, we can guarantee that the current show does its best to honor the legacy of the original, and you can notice that all the time, especially because Daniel's outfit itself is a tribute tribute to Mr. Rogers.
The clothes Daniel wears most of the time include a red sweater, and that's no coincidence, since that was also Mr. Rogers' signature piece of clothing. It's very likely that Dad Tiger gave his son a similar sweater as a tribute to his childhood friend. It's nice to know that Daniel Tiger is basically a walking homage to Mr. Rogers. This tribute isn't done only by Daniel Tiger, but also by Dad Tiger himself. After all, he also wears a sweater just like his son's. The difference is that his sweater is dark blue, which references another sweater Mr. Rogers wore in certain episodes. What we're about to say next isn't confirmed, but have you ever thought about the possibility that the sweater Dad Tiger wears is actually the very same one Mr. Rogers used to wear in the past? He may have received that piece of clothing as a gift. And who knows, Dad Tiger might even be saving Rogers' red sweater for his son to wear when he grows up. It's really cool when cartoons break the fourth wall, with a character looking straight at us, as if they're staring into a camera or even talking directly to us. In Peppa Pig and Bluey, that kind of scene is usually rare, but when it comes to Daniel Tiger, in almost every episode we see him looking at us and talking to us. That raises an interesting question. Do Daniel and his friends know they're in a show? It's possible, but as far as we know, that's not really the case. Daniel always calls us neighbors and treats us as if we're in the same environment as him, suggesting that whoever is watching the show is like a neighbor who exists inside Daniel's universe and follows him everywhere. Prince Wednesday is one of Daniel's most unusual friends, especially because he's literally the prince of the neighborhood, whatever that means, since a neighborhood normally doesn't have its own royal family. But something truly curious is his name, Wednesday, a day of the week. That's not exclusive to this character, but rather a tradition in his family, since every member of this royal family is named after a day of the week. The king is named Friday, the queen is Sarah Saturday, and his older brother is Prince Tuesday. The only one who doesn't follow that same logic is Chrissy, Prince Wednesday's cousin. Ever thought about always having new animation content on your feed? Just subscribe and hit the bell.
Another thing everyone remembers when they think of Prince Wednesday is his glasses, which make him look a lot like Harry Potter. You may have never stopped to think about it, but he is actually the first character with glasses to appear in this show.
Of course, he didn't remain the only one for very long, because it would be strange if no other characters with glasses showed up after so many years on the air. The second character to wear glasses was Mr. McFeely, while the third was Grandpere Platypus. Speaking of Wednesday, did you know that he is one of the only friends of Daniel Tiger who also has a sibling? In his case, we're talking about Tuesday. Besides him, there are only two other friends of the little tiger who also have siblings, Jody Platypus and Max. Jody has two younger twin brothers named Leo and Teddy. Max, on the other hand, is the younger brother of Amira, who is already 12 years old. Other characters such as O the Owl, Katarina Kitty Cat, and Miss Elena are only children. This show definitely has no intention of making its characters perfect, since all of its episodes are about children facing some kind of problem and needing to solve it. It's no surprise that scenes of Daniel throwing tantrums over nothing ended up going viral on the internet. That's a personality issue Daniel has, and it can change over time, but the little tiger has another trait that will never change, because it's a matter of physical health. He is allergic to peaches, a pretty unusual allergy by the way. This kind of detail is very interesting because it makes Daniel feel more human, or at least closer to being human, even though he will always be a tiger above all else. Many animated series feature child characters who are voiced by adults. For example, it's very common for a young boy to be voiced by an adult woman, since female voices tend to sound less deep. However, that's not the case with Daniel Tiger. He is always voiced by a child, which is pretty amazing. There's just one small issue. The show has been releasing new episodes since 2012, meaning it has already been around for 13 years. Over that time, Daniel's original voice actor has grown up and become an adult. Because of that, Daniel's voice actor has been replaced several times. Many different children have voiced the little tiger, being replaced whenever their voices got deeper as they grew up, since Daniel continues to be portrayed as a 4-year-old child. Another behind-the-scenes curiosity about the series is that, in order to make the show as educational as possible, the scripts for each episode are read to a group of children before the episode is animated. The goal is to confirm whether the children can understand the script, stay interested in the story, and of course, grasp the lessons taught in the episode, which is extremely important for an educational animation like this. This really shows how much the production team behind Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood cares about its target audience. Take the chance and watch the 2 videos we left on the screen. I'm sure you'll have fun. See you soon.